Homes, homes, homes. Hey, Peter Richon here with Richon Planning, and we're going to talk about homes, houses, apartments, renting, ownership, and the state and outlook of the housing market. You know, there's been a lot of talk of a very bleak outlook, especially among the younger generation, that the dream of home ownership is outside of their grasp and outside of the scope of reality, even for more established, savers, investors, those that have been in the mode of home ownership for some time. Finding an affordable home is right now very difficult. In fact, a Zillow study that was just released showed that starter homes are now more than $1 million in 237 U.S. cities. Now, that is not the case for the vast majority of the country, but it does show you the state of and the expense of home ownership. So, what are the benefits? What are the disadvantages of home ownership? When should you consider buying a home versus when is it appropriate to just rent for a period of time? The premium that you pay when you're renting, and typically you do pay a little bit more when you rent versus when you own a home for something comparable. But that represents some freedom and flexibility. That extra payment represents the ability to change life circumstances maybe more rapidly. And so if you are not settled in an area, or if you don't know where you would like to settle in an area, there's nothing wrong with renting for a period of time. However, a housing market study of Wake County showed that there are over 100,000 people or family in apartments or rental units, 110,000, that could realistically qualify and afford a house and a mortgage at this point in time. Indicators of readiness can include low debt, good credit, reliable income, a stable job and living situation. Disadvantages might be inconsistent income, job hopping, or maybe you just don't know where you're settling yet. High debt, of course, and a low credit score. So let's focus on some of the numbers or the realistic opportunities, the advantages of buying a home. There has been a saying for a long time of good debt versus bad debt. Now, I don't really believe that you could quantify debt as good debt per se, because debt always assumes some level of additional risk, and by taking on debt, you are always assuming a best case scenario that everything is going to go right. And if things don't go right, then that debt can become a true problem. But debt is part of most people's natural financial progress, and certainly the part of home ownership often requires taking on debt. Most people don't have enough cash on hand to just plop down and buy a home outright. So mortgages are a natural part of our financial progress. The reason it's sort of quantified as good debt is that with mortgage and real estate and home ownership, generally home prices appreciate over time, and therefore that debt that you take on plus the interest that you are accruing and paying over the course of a mortgage, oftentimes the appreciation on the home and property that you've purchased matches or surpasses the total payments over the course of time. Meaning, if you take a $300,000 mortgage out, you don't pay $300,000. Over the course of that mortgage, you're probably closer to $600,000. But over the course of the same 20 or 30 years, the $300,000 home that you purchased probably also appreciates near on that pace to about that $600,000 or even more. The housing market in this area has been fantastic and really doesn't show a whole lot of signs of slowing down anytime soon, with the good job market and the number of people moving to the Wake County area. So as opposed to that, debt on a vehicle, you are taking out debt and paying interest on an asset that is depreciating. Debt on credit cards, generally you don't even have that asset there, and those are significantly higher interest rates. So there are some debts that are better than others. I'm not sure still I would quantify debt in any form as good, but it can be used, it can be leveraged as a tool to further your financial progress. So what are the numbers? What should you be looking at if you are considering home ownership or maybe first-time home buyer? you'd love to strive for that 20% down payment. And the type and the price of home that you should be looking for, there are some general rules of thumb. They're not hard and fast. They're not going to make you stick to this, but for your financial well-being, try to target a monthly mortgage payment that is about 25% of your take-home monthly income. So a married couple in these days, most households with married couples are dual income. It's just really hard to survive off of a single income household these days. It's another factor that goes into kind of the bleak outlook of the younger generation, but that's really been the reality for several generations to this point in time. But if we've got a dual income household where the household income is $100,000. Maybe take-home pay after taxes and deductions and retirement savings is $6,000 a month. You should be targeting then a 25% mortgage payment or housing cost. So $1,500 a month would really be the target. And for a few years, as you are ramping up to the ability and to the time where it is appropriate to buy the house, you want to be saving up that down payment fund, because ideally we would be putting 20% down on the price of our home. Well, even in this higher elevated interest rate environment that we are currently in, that still puts your average kind of starting target for a housing price somewhere in the $240 to $260 range. The problem there is that the average home price in the Wake County market is significantly higher than that. You're looking at in the 330s to 360s as of the last time I looked there for average starter home prices, and of course they can go up significantly from there. But don't feel like you have to get into your dream home with your first home. This is something where it may take time and several generations of moving and relocating where your life changes and you grow over time. It's not like you buy one home and you're there forever. So don't get discouraged if you are renting currently, and just strive to form good financial habits. Be a regular saver. Stay out of debt. Be a regular investor. And this is a big part that I see, is that people get trapped in a saver's mentality where, yes, they realize they've got some extra money each month from their check. It's a good situation to be in, but they build it up too much in bank accounts and don't pivot the mentality and start their investment journey soon enough. You'll thank yourself later if you get that going, because over time, the growth of the market is going to far surpass the growth even in these higher bank interest rate environments. And that's probably going to change when the Fed begins to lower rates. So become an investor, and then save and strive toward building up a fund for that home down payment. And you do want to try to target 20% to avoid PMI, but that is also not necessarily a requirement for first-time home buyers. So I hope the information was helpful, just kind of overviewing the status of the housing market and trying to assess whether or not there is a realistic opportunity for home ownership out there. Supply and demand is another factor that goes into this. They don't seem to be able to build new homes fast enough, even though there's construction everywhere you look, all over at least the Wake County area. And we are in a fantastic area for growth, for standard of living, for sustainability. But even second and third time home buyers are having trouble with the supply, the demand within the market, even though we're seeing construction everywhere. So if your dream is home ownership, don't be too discouraged. Just continue saving. The time will come. The prices will adjust. The interest rates will adjust. And all of the progress that you make between now and then, you will thank yourself later for when that right time does occur. So I hope this is helpful. Just kind of an overview of the status of the housing market and what people are feeling, what I'm hearing from folks that come in. Nothing wrong with renting for a period of time in your life, and certainly the dream of home ownership is still alive. So you just got to work to get there. You can't make the dream come true without a little bit of work, and you've got to up that savings, up the income where possible, and work on staying out of debt, improving the credit score, and the time will come. All right, well, I hope this was helpful. Peter Richon with Richon Planning. If you want to get a plan to get on a right track, no matter where you're at in your financial progress, maybe you're on your forever retirement home, but you still want to get a plan together to feel confident that the rest of the years in front of you are going to remain stable and confident. Happy to help. Give me a call, 919-300-5886, 919-300-5886. Talk to you soon. Take care. Hey folks, Peter Richon here with Richon Planning. So glad that you are enjoying the podcast, Planning Matters Radio. You know, one of the tools that we've put out there that people really seem to appreciate and really are finding of value is at 919retired.com. It is your retirement tax bill calculator. If you've got any kind of retirement account, your tax deferred, 401k, or IRA, this is the website, this is the resource where you can go, you can plug in your own numbers, your information, you can slide the tool calculator up and down for your tax rate or your amount of savings and see what your tax bill is likely to be if you default and defer to the IRS's plan versus what you could potentially bring that tax bill down to. A lot of times it is a very significant savings. So if you have not yet, go to the website 919retired.com, run your numbers on the retirement tax bill calculator.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookzone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.